Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's we'll be comparing a 4Runner TRD Off-Road Premium to a 4Runner TRD Off-Road with the hybrid. These are the same price, so let's answer the question of which one you should buy. Which one is a better value since they are the same amount of money? Before we get in this video, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to the Large Miller Toyota here in Murray for giving me some time with the TRD Off-Road with the hybrid. I'll include a link to their website in the description down below. Also include a link to my car buying guide. Let's get into it. So powering the first one is a hybrid turbo 2.4 liter 4-cylinder that goes through an 8-speed. Fuel economy is 23 around town, 24 on the highway, with power outputs being 326 horsepower and then 465 pound-feet of torque. And then powering the loaded up 4Runner is the standard 2.4 turbo that goes through an 8-speed. Fuel economy with this is 19 around town, 25 on the highway, with power outputs being 278 horsepower and then 317 pound-feet of torque. So basically you get worse fuel economy around town with the non-hybrid, and you have a lot less power compared to the hybrid that gets a little bit better around town but slightly worse on the highway with fuel economy. Now, before we move forward with this comparison, I do want to mention if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. Now, when it comes to the exterior of both of these vehicles, since they're both TRD off-roads, they actually look completely identical. And that is with everything. I mean, you can see here with the front end, both of them have the air dam, the fog lights, all of that. Tire and wheel setup is going to be identical with both of them. It is 265 by 70 by 18. And they both even have side steps as well. You can see the mirror caps have the same kind of like satin trim. You do have an iForce Max badge on the hybrid, so that is one difference. But yeah, you have the roof rails up top with both of them. You can see that the base model does not have a sunroof, whereas the premium does have a sunroof. Now, the rear hatch in the base model is going to be hydraulic, as you can see, so you've got to actually lift up yourself. Now, the battery, it does take up quite a bit of space here in the back, so it messes with your vertical space a bit, but overall it's still very large back here, and you do have a little kind of cubby underneath that section. Now, the loaded up one is actually going to come with a power hatch, and you'll notice that the floor is significantly lower compared to the version of the battery. We were talking about like almost half a foot different, maybe not that much, maybe like 4 or 5 inches. So you've got quite a bit more space, still have the same holders and all of that. And something to note, if you get the non-hybrid with either an SR5 or a limited, or I think a Platinum 2, you can get a third row. This you can't get a third row though. So, and we're mostly focusing on TRD off-road versus TRD off-road. But yeah, you gotta do manual with the more baseline. When it comes to the exterior, things are actually very similar, and they both have the power sliding rear window, by the way. Now, interior space is going to be identical with them because they're the same vehicle, but you notice you got nice padding here with the baseline, and then we've got these cloth seats here in the back, and you can see we've got some vents, some USB ports there as well, full outlet on top of that. Now, the load-up one, of course, has the same padding there on the side, but you'll notice the seats are quite a bit fancier, perforated all down the center, and you can see you have the same little vents and charging port and all of that in the back. So feature-wise, other than the seats, everything is the same. Now, up front with the baseline, we do have cloth seats that are manually adjustable, and you'll kind of notice that's the theme with the baseline. It's a lot of manual stuff. All of your auxiliary switches, you still have that, stability control, all of that. Push button start with a full digital gauge cluster. Still get a really nice steering wheel with stuff like adaptive cruise control, lane centering, and all of that. Just a regular backup camera. Single zone climate with heated seats, heated steering wheel. You have wireless phone charging pad. We still have 2-speed transfer case, still have multi-terrain select crawl control, rear locking differential as well. Still have the normal glove box setup. Like I said, no sunroof with this, and just a regular rear view mirror. So this still has, I would say, quite a few features. Sticker price is about $54. And then we take a look at the loaded up one. Again, the front seats are a lot nicer. They're also power adjustable as well, and they've got memory function. And you'll notice this actually doesn't have all the auxiliary switches with how this one's equipped, which is kind of interesting. Still have the red TRD button though, which is cool. Digital gauge cluster there. This whole setup is identical with the steering wheel, but this does happen to have a 360 camera system, so that's an upgrade. And then you have ventilated seats, another upgrade. Button for the camera system. This also has the trailer backup. setup as well. And then again, just the seats for all around. Camera rear view mirror, and then we do have a sunroof. And this one's about 56. So let's take both of these out and see which one performs the best. So we will start in the baseline with the hybrid, and then we will drive the loaded up one with the non-hybrid second. See if the extra features feel like they are actually worth it. I talked to a couple of the Toyota salespeople, and they tell me that a lot of people are sold on having to have a power seat. I think that's kind of funny. The reason being, I understand like it's annoying having to adjust your seat if you have a spouse, right? You know, my wife, whenever I drive her Sequoia, I get it. But manual versus power, it's like it's so easy to adjust a manual seat. It's like it takes like 2 seconds. I understand you can't be as precise with a manual seat. That is the one big annoyance, right? Because you're on a track with lock points, versus power you can just very precisely adjust it. But still, for me it wouldn't be a deal breaker. I mean, I've had several cars without power seats and I just don't care. And honestly, I know memory seat function's nice. I never use it. I just prefer to instead basically just adjust the seat. I don't know. Now, what I will tell you is the hybrid does make a substantial difference on the low end when it comes to torque. It has a really strong push, and so this does, I would say, influence the drivability quite substantially. I mean, it's powerful. And again, it's really on that low end, and you do feel it off-road too. I will have a comparison with the hybrid versus the non-hybrid off-road. It won't be a 4Runner, it'll be a Land Cruiser with the hybrid, but still basically the same vehicle. So yeah, I think the hybrid makes a big difference in terms of overall drivability of the powertrain. It's a big improvement, but you lose space, and you don't really, in the 4Runner, you don't really get that much better fuel economy. It is slightly better around town if it's warm. That's something to note. If it's cold, if you drive this around in cold temps, you lose all the fuel economy gain with the hybrid. So that is another thing to consider. But yeah, I think it drives well, and I think if you're willing to concede the extra storage, the drivability with the hybrid's really good. But let's go pop in the loaded up one and see if the experience is that much better with the extra features that it offers. Well, I will say the seats are a little bit more comfortable, these soft tech seats. 360 camera system's nice. Not necessary, but nice. Same thing with the camera rear view mirror. It's one of those features where when I have it, because I've tested so many cars over the years, me personally, when I have it, I go, yeah, this is nice. But when I don't have it in a car, I'm not like, dang it, I really need that 360. Unless it's a huge car. If it's like a, you know, a diesel truck without a 360, it's kind of, again, it's not a deal breaker. It's kind of annoying though. But something this size doesn't bug me. Doesn't bug me one bit. So, right off the bat, let me turn this up so that it turns the fan down. Right off the bat, I'll tell you that oh man, it's such a big difference. Now this isn't bad. Again, if you compare this to a 5th gen 4Runner, like, this has got power, whereas the 5th gen did not. But when you compare this to the hybrid has so much more low-end torque. It feels like it's got a shove. Like, the difference that I feel is on the hybrid, I feel like I can just kind of hold on the throttle around, I would say like a few hundred RPM less than this. And so it just has that more like strong low-end shove. This is not bad though. And on the top end, they actually don't feel too different with the overall acceleration. Just on the bottom end, this, I feel like I have to wring out the engine more. Because you do, because it has 317 pound-feet of torque versus 465 is an astronomical difference. That is huge. So should you go features? Should you go for power? Here's my 2 cents on it. again, if you need the extra space, you need the extra space. If you don't need the extra space, I actually think that the hybrid is just better overall. My experience with the Land Cruiser Hybrid is I've really enjoyed it. Again, it's not perfect. In the cold, it loses its fuel economy benefits, but you know, this time of the year and in the summer and in the fall, it does great. So for 3 seasons, if you have all 4 seasons, it does really well with the fuel economy, and it just makes the drivability around town that much better because you've got so much more low-end torque. And especially if you traverse through stuff that there's lots of hills and everything, it's just a nice setup to have. And you know, I think the space, as long as you're not hauling stuff too often, it's something you can get used to. Again, it's definitely not ideal. Definitely not ideal. So let me know if you go for features or if you'd go for powertrain. I kind of lean towards the powertrain. I'd rather have the, out of these two, I'd rather have the Tier D off-road with the hybrid, save $2,000, spend that $2,000 on some really aggressive tires, and have a bunch of fun with it doing some Tier D off-road stuff.